Yo, 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 YouTube. What is up, people? So, I'm starting a new series of streams here. This is, we're going to review one of the SHSATs from cover to cover. This is the 2017-18 SHSAT. If you don't have that available, and most people won't or can't be able to get it, I can email it to you. I have it available in electronic form. My email is at the bottom there, GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. I'm obviously Greg. A lot of you have been beating my head to do grade 9 stuff as well as ELA stuff. This is where we're at. Yesterday we went through some of the kind of teaser revising, editing questions, and today I'm gonna skip the teaser reading comprehension questions and jump into the actual test itself. And then when we get to the point where we're at reading comprehension, we'll come back to that point. So let me see if we're live. Yes, we seem to be live. Let me adjust my screen here. So let's see here. Okay, I'm on the side. So let's just spend 1 second on this reading comprehension description though, because there is a distinction between the reading comprehension, your comprehension of the passage for reading comprehension, and your comprehension of the passage for revising and editing. They're at different levels. So the reading comprehension questions, a standard question is going to be something like the main idea, where in the revising and editing, they're not focused on the main idea, the author's craft or whatever, right? The revising and editing is mainly about incorrect things, something in the wrong place. It could be a whole sentence. It could be a missing comma, a comma in the wrong place, just some grammatical thing, just something you often screw up. It could be organizational. So it's going to be about precision and things like that. So for instance, if we come here, it says this section measures your ability to read and comprehend. Okay, you still need to read and comprehend on the revising and editing section, but it's a different aspect of reading and comprehension they're asking you to do. Okay, so still read passages and still try to understand them, but flip into slightly different modes as you're processing each thing. So we're under reading comprehension. They're going to ask you specific things about what you read. In the revising and editing, they're going to ask you to do specific things, or what about specific things, not necessarily about the flow of the story deep down, the moral, stuff like that. That's not what the revising and editing part is about. All right, so with that in mind, let's just move on. So we're going to skip that example. We're going to skip the math, and now we'll cover that when we get to it. The grid-ins, we'll explain that when we get to it as well. If you have never read the instructions for a SHSAT, get the current handbook and read them. Okay, there's a few deets in here between circling grid-in questions to filling out the your name and address and your name and so on at the beginning of the test. Although I don't think that interferes with testing time. Your proctor would lead you through that, and then the test will officially start. But you don't want to make a screw up. I'm sure out of all the kids who take the test, there's at least one where the bubble sheet is invalid for some reason. Or make sure you know how to fill in the schools, right? There's a section like this on the right over here, where you're going to actually bubble in your school choices. This does not get done at myschools.nyc. It gets done on the form by you, not by your family, not by your parents, not by your guardian. By you. You fill out your school choice, okay? And this is the only significant things of choices that matters. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of bubbling that happens here that you have to have done beforehand. Anyway, that's not the premise of what I want to do on this here. All right, so the revising editing section is split into two parts. We're going to start with part A, all right? And before I do that, I want to make sure we're actually live and that things are fitting on the screen properly. While there's a lag here, so again, I'm Greg from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. I'm a tutor in New York City. I also tutor in New Jersey and Connecticut, even Massachusetts. I do homework help and so on, but I also specialize in specialized tests, mainly the Hunter College High School test and the SHSAT. Hunter College, by the way, is about to announce the details for the Hunter College High School exam for anybody who happens to be watching this or knows somebody who is waiting for that to happen. I'm guessing that's going to happen probably after this week. So by this next Monday, we'll probably have the details on the Hunter College High School test. So we're going to focus on the SHSAT here. And this question here ended up being scrutinized in a whole bunch of different places and basically scorned because some kind of well-known-ish people thought it was kind of misleading or whatever. And there's something specific about test taking that a lot of people don't seem to understand, that when you're being asked a specific question, like if you're told to summarize a passage, that's not the same as the main idea, all right? If you're told, asked what is the setting of a passage, well, that's not asking you about a character, okay? So a question like this has the same kind of issues and details and considerations that need to be done about. So let's dive into this and see what the heck I'm talking about. Why am I even mentioning this? So it says read the sentence. So here the sentence is in the box. During a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter talked to some people who did the best in the contest. So that's sloppy, all right? We might say this to people, you know, if we just watched the news segment together, we might rephrase this to somebody, or, you know, it's slang, or you might text this to somebody because it's kind of vaguish and it's not specific. There are details that are specific in here, but there's other parts that are vague, ambiguous, things like that, okay? So the question is, which of these is the most precise revision? So the operative word here is precise. Whoops. Okay? So they want a revision of the sentence in the box using more precise words. That's not hard. That's not something to be scorned upon. Okay? So, you know, I can't understand some of the folks in the media who made a joke of this. I don't happen to have the articles handy, but at the time there was about two or three articles that were attacking the SHSAT because of a question like this. What is the testing? You know, I think one person was an editor and said, like, this is ridiculous. This is not how you edit. And I think I saw another one, which was actually a YouTube at an educational forum. And I just think all those people missed the point. They just missed the point. Now, that said, a couple years ago when I first saw this question, myself, I was like, whoa, what exactly is this? Because as much experience as I had with testing, I never really saw a question that really asked about precision. And now in hindsight, since I've kind of analyzed this and seen this many times before, I've actually seen it in the past in slightly different forms. And this, I have to agree, is a little more cryptic than some of the other ones I saw. And this one was just straight out this kind of a thing. So that was more of the issue to me, okay? And by the way, I'm going to go about an hour here. I'm going to do a few topics and see how far we get in a few passages here. So let's just look again at the question. Which of these is the most precise revision for the words talk to some people who did the best in a contest? So they only want a revision of the bold-faced words there, okay? So they're kind of saying leave the rest of the sentence alone except for what I just highlighted right here, okay? What's a better way to say that? And normally we're being asked for the best thing, but now we're being asked to say at best precisely. This is a technical term. precision. We talk about precision in math. Precision means to be exact, to be more exact. What's a more exact way? Just to give an example, I can say, I'm here right now. You might say, where is here? I'm here where I'm sitting. Well, you still might say, like, where is here where you're sitting? I'm in my house in Queens, and as I'm answering more of this, I'm getting more specific. I'm getting more precise, right? I can hold this up. Let me make sure this is coming on your thing because I don't have the cam showing. I can hold this up and say, I'm holding a pen. So that's somewhat descriptive and somewhat precise. But I can also say I'm holding a ballpoint pen, right, with the cap off. And it's a Bic ballpoint pen. So as I'm saying more and more, I'm getting more and more precise. I can also stop and I have a writing implement, right? I have a pen or a pencil in my hand. That's kind of ambiguous, right? So there's different levels of being specific, and that's called precision. Something needs to be exact. So what can we do with the phrase that's highlighted, that I highlighted, and that they have in bold? What can we do to that to make it more precise? Okay? And so let's analyze this. And in the analysis, we might look at what's wrong with the thing in the first place, and how do the different alternatives make it better? Perhaps, because only one answer is going to win here. So let's actually read the whole sentence. So during a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter talked to some people who did the best in the contest. Okay, so that on surface value kind of seems harmless. There's meaning there. So there's something on the news. There's a reporter, and he's talking to people. Some people somehow they were involved in the contest. All right, so that's cool. So let's see, how can we make that better? So A says we replace that with converse with some of the people who won the contest. So it's going to be during a nightly news segment about a cooking contest. A reporter talked to during a nightly segment about a cooking contest, a reporter conversed with some of the people who won the contest. Well, some of the people is still not precise. Okay? So that's not it. Because if we look at it, who won the contest? The winners won the contest. All right? So it doesn't seem to be A. Okay? And even, by the way, the original sentence uses some people. So we can kind of throw that last clause out if we want. So in other words, during a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter talked to some people. And you kind of put in parentheses, by the way, those people did the best in the contest. Okay, you see? So that's why the original phrase actually really has a problem. And it's not even better which is the most precise. There's almost really kind of an error with that some. We could also remove the word some if you look at the original sentence and do during a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter talked to people who did the best in the contest. Oh, that's where the some comes from, you see? So if the reporter talked to people who did the best in the contest, definitely the reporter talked to the winners, okay? So A doesn't really reflect either of those alternative views that I just gave you. One where we remove some, one where we add the last part in a parenthesized expression or something like that. And I'm not saying to add another parenthesis. I'm only using that to emphasize the concepts, the idea of what's happening in the original sentence, to reflect it back onto what the sentence is actually saying or not saying. Okay? Okay, so B. During a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter spoke to the 3 contestants who did well. Okay, so instead of talked, now he spoke, or she spoke. We don't know if it's a male or female reporter. The reporter spoke to the 3 contestants. So that's likely that they're the ones who did the best in the contest. Probably the top 3 contestants, right? But then it loses us. So it moves from talk to spoke. So that's equal. That's 50-50. It moved from the people who did the best to the top 3. And it just says who did well. So that's not good. By the way, a problem with A is also that it says some of the people who won the contest. And shouldn't it be, it in the original sentence implies that it's all the people who won the contest. Okay? So there's a couple of wishy-washy things flying back and forth there. So going back to B, he spoke to the 3 contestants who did well. Who did well is still sloppy. Because we really want the three contestants who won, probably, not just did the best means they won. We're trying to look for better wording. Okay, so C. So A sucks, B sucks. C. During a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter discussed the contest with some of the winners. Well, again, we're moving from talk to discussed. So I guess discussed is a slightly better word, but not really. To some of the people who did the best with some of the winners. So now we're back to some of the winners. And that's not what the use of the word some was originally. Okay? Because we can remove some or we can replace it. So it's not saying the reporter only spoke to some of the winners. I believe it's trying to say the reporter spoke to all of the winners. The reporter spoke to some people. By the way, those people happened to do the best in the contest. Now that said, it doesn't quite say it spoke to all the winners. But that should be the implication, I think. So C might even be the worst choice yet. All right? And D moves from talked to interviewed. Interview is definitely a better word. Isn't more precise? Yeah, because report is interview. Okay? And the top 3 contestants. So during a nightly news segment about a cooking contest, a reporter interviewed the top 3 contestants. Now, is that taking a leap to actually now finally be specific and say it's the top 3 contestants? Because maybe it was only one of the top 3 contestants. Because again, it does say some. But the longer you read the original phrase and what's being talked here, that's what the precision is. So the reporter just didn't talk to a bunch of random people. He talked to specific people about a cooking contest. Okay? And by the way, that's another thing that's wrong with C. It actually never tells us that the cooking contest was discussed. Maybe they talked about top recipes. Okay? So that's another problem with C. We can probably make that inference, but that's not what's being asked to be done here. We're trying to be asked to be more precise, not to make an inference. So again, you're being asked to do one and only one thing in this question, which is precision, which is a technical aspect term. Okay? So D rules. D rules. A is ambiguous, B is ambiguous, C is ambiguous. D is very specific, very precise. It's probably even more precise than it needs to be. And it's also subtle and to the point. It's also concise. Concise means to be brief as well. You're not being asked to be concise here. But normally when you're, short, be short and to the point. That's what D is. All right? So this explanation was not short and to the point. So once you see that that's the case, I can't understand those other 2 or 3 articles I saw, and one was a YouTube, really having a problem with this. And I'm spending a lot of time on this question because this is a question that comes up often. Okay? It's going to come up in a few different guises. Sometimes it's laid out straight up just like this. Whoa, my hand is ghostly there. Sometimes it's tossed out right there like that. And sometimes it's kind of embedded in some other stuff. So what you need to do, especially when you're reading the passage parts, again, we're not talking about the reading comprehension part, because it's never going to ask you this kind of question there. Although to be honest with you, it might in a different kind of way. But certainly like grammatically kind of way, it's not going to ask in the reading comprehension part. So when you're reading a passage or a sentence or something where there's a phrase or a sentence or a word that just seems sloppy or awkward, sometimes it could just be grammar, and sometimes it could be like, this is just not being precise. It's like, I'm sitting here again. Well, where's here? So if you can ask yourself questions about it, especially when it's not talked about in the next sentences, because sometimes you can have a lead-in, the introduction to something, and then the support sentences. But often your introduction is still specific, okay? A lead-in will have a main thought, a main concept, a main idea as well. Main idea just doesn't apply to a whole passage. It can apply to a paragraph. It can even apply to a sentence, okay? It's whatever concepts is going to be important in this given case here. All right? So that's what precision's about. So when you see the word precise in a question used this way, that's the answer you have to give. Okay? You can't give an answer about something else. It has to be specifically about precision. And if you're still confused about this will come up often. I believe it's in a couple of questions again, if I remember this test again. If not, it's on the Form B. There's a second form here, and so on and so on. So as we cover different stuff, it'll come up. And also, again, when you're reading the passage, in this case, it only gave us a sentence. But if it's revising it and involving a passage, you can almost, a red flag goes up as you're reading some of these kind of sentences because they're sloppy and you start noticing it. So what you want to do is put a check mark. I'll put S next to it for sloppy or something. Make a coding system because you're almost always going to be asked about that question. The same for some of the revising and editing based on the grammar. As you get more astute and you get used to more of these questions, you're going to be like, oh, there's a missing comma. Oh, there's active and passive voice messed up. Oh, there's a misplaced modifier or things like that. Okay? All right. So let's see. Where are we? I'm trying to see what the time is. So we're 24 minutes in already. So let's go to the next question. So in this case, we have a whole paragraph. Okay, so read the paragraph. Let me make sure this is going in you guys' screen. One second, people. And we seem to be live. YouTube is a mess. Sometimes it will not be start up. Sometimes it freezes. All right, so it's showing in the guys' screen. So let me bring up a bigger version for myself. Which sentence should be correct an inappropriate shift in verb tense? What does that mean? What does it mean to say that? A verb is an action thing normally. So this action thing has something wrong happening in its tense. Tense is a past, present, and future, right? So we're trying to look for something that's mismatched somewhere. And this can go a few ways. So let's just look at that. So, I can't say I can say I am sitting here, but if I said I was sitting here right now, that's wrong. That's inappropriate verb tense. Because I can't say I was right now unless I find the time continuum crack, right? Okay. So 2 says, when coal was used to heat homes, it frequently left a soot stain on the walls. So that's talking about the past in both cases. Was used, left. Okay, 2. Brothers Cleo and Noah McVicker, who owned a cleaning product company, created a doughy substance to help people remove the soot. So they owned, they created, and they had removed. So that's all in the past. So it's 3. Over time, as natural gas becomes more common, people had little need for soot, and the Vickers family company struggled to stay in business. So struggled is in the past. People had little need for soot cleaners, but this says becomes. Over time, as natural gas becomes more common, meaning in the future, this is so in the past. So for now, what is the sentence 3? The answer seems to be G. So let's look at the last sentence. Then one day, so this is in the past. It's not in the future. One day, Joe McClicker, Cleo's son, learned that his sister-in-law had been using the substance for odd projects in her classroom. Using. So he remarketed in the past the product as the toy known today as Play-Doh. All right, so becomes is the problem. So this one was kind of more easier. And by the way, what happens sometimes is that kids will see becomes, they'll know it doesn't flow with the other thing, and what they'll do is try to change one of the other sentences. Instead of fixing becomes, they'll go back and fix one. So like, while coal is used to heat homes, it leaves soot stains on walls. You know, and that's backwards, that's upside down, you're flipping it. So that's the only gotcha here, certainly for this example, that even when you detect the thing, make sure you know what sentence is really what the problem is. All right? This is especially the case. Hey, no problem, Leo, Geo. We're all aboard here. Hopefully your day is going well. It looks like it's going to rain actually, now I'm noticing this. I kind of woke up and popped into this. So here we go with that. So again, this is using terminology in the question. Verb tense, okay, past, present, future, and an inappropriate shift means you're shifting from one tense to the other. Okay? So you need to get familiar with these terms as testing terms. Otherwise, you kind of can't answer the question. That said, a few of you might be able to read the whole paragraph above and figure out where the error is without really understanding it. Whereas if it just said which sentence should be revised, okay, or even to correct a problem, you should still be able to see that it was becomes. And there's a slight problem in a standardized test that you take in a group, which is that some people can detect this when they read it aloud, but when you quote read it in your head, they'll still get it wrong. If that's a problem, you may want to learn to move your lips without making a sound, because you don't want to be thrown out of the test room for making noise or for being accused of cheating, maybe telling somebody an answer or something silly like that, just because you're trying to kind of process that. And you may argue that's one thing that's unfair about a standardized test, and it is. It definitely is. I have a situation myself, I'll be honest to tell you guys. I'll be honest to tell you guys, when I write something myself, I have a habit of using the word the twice in a row. So I might say something like, you know, I looked up and the clouds were forming, you know, and I don't know I've done that. And I don't know it to the extent that even when I read it back, you know, I'm doing my own, I wrote it something out and I'm reading it back. Those two does blend together to me for some reason. And by the way, I've mentioned, especially in the math sections, that I have mild dyslexia. That seems to be showing up more than I'm older. But maybe I always had it, and I just never realized it. It's only now that I'm realizing that I'm making some errors based on that. But I can read the word the, and it just melds together. And it's not till I read it aloud that I would say, I looked up at the skies and the clouds were forming. I would be like, what? Did I really read this already 10 times and I can't say the word the twice? So some of this is training where you have to get yourself in that mode. So yeah, I'm going to beat it to death. I'm definitely going to beat it to death because it needs to be done. I was reluctant just because it's annoying to do and it's tedious and boring, but I'm hoping the discussion part of it helps people as well because it's there. So the way I resolved it was I still write the word the twice, but I do it a lot less often. And it took me about a decade to resolve this, by the way. But when I read it back now, I can almost always get it. And I used to can only catch it when I read it aloud. Now I can do it silently. So this is something you can train yourself to do, guys. I'm not saying everybody can do it, and I don't really know how I solved it, except for just making the effort to find that I did that. So when you get into some of these ELA stuff, it's going to be similar as well. All right? Okay, so let's go to number 3. Again, read the sentence. Okay, which edit should be made to the sentence? So in this case, they're not telling us what's wrong. There's no terminology here. They're like, here's the sentence, bros, fix the damn thing, okay? Okay, so the animal shelter, comma, which is located on Midway Street, comma, is looking for volunteers to help with a variety of tasks, comma, such as walking dogs, cleaning kennels, hand-feeding newborn kittens, and supporting the pet adoption process. Okay, so to me, this is probably one of the easiest questions on the whole test, but for somebody else, maybe it's not. So I have to put myself in the context that I'm not sure what's going to go on here. So I'm going to repeat something I said yesterday before I get into the deets, which is that on this version of the SHSAT, this again is the 2017-18, please email me for anybody who needs a copy. They give one edit. In the current version of the SHSAT, each answer has 2 edits. So you can use that to help you. Because if you know if one edit's wrong, then that can't be the answer. Okay? And in other words, if you know one's wrong, you're not sure about the other, well, then it's still not the answer, even if you're not sure about the other, because you know the first one isn't. So you can rule things out better that way. It's kind of sloppy-ish way to do it, but so in any event, so that's the difference. So in the current SHSAT, you have to do basically, they're going to present you with 2 edits per answer. Okay? So otherwise, it's really we're editing. Okay? Okay. Delete the comma after shelter. So that's here. That comma looks good to me because if I remove this, I have a comma. Well, let me include the comma in the blue. I have from a comma to a comma here. I have a clause stuck in the middle there. If I delete that, I can say the animal shelter is looking for volunteers. So because of that, I need both those commas. Okay? So you don't delete the comma after shelter. Now imagine we did delete the comma after shelter. It would say right, we normally pause at a comma. The animal shelter, which is located on Midway Street, is looking for volunteers. If I delete the comma, I have the animal shelter, which is located on Midway Street, is looking for volunteers to help with a variety of tasks. Okay? We're not delineating that clause, which is located on Midway Street. Okay? And if we delete the one after shelter, then we're going to delete the second one too. All right? So there's no way to win with A. All right? B, insert a comma after volunteers. So we're talking about right here. I don't know how to, I'll boldface the word volunteers. So the animal shelter, which is located on Midway Street, is looking for volunteers to help with a variety of tasks. That's an unnatural pause. And there can be a pause there, but the pause would be a period. Okay? The animal shelter, which is located on Midway Street, is looking for volunteers, period. They need the volunteers to help with a variety of tasks, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So there's no comma there. If you put a comma there, it's just awkward. There's an unnatural pause, things like that. Okay? Insert a comma after dogs. So now we're over here. The animal shelter, which is located in Midway Street, is looking for volunteers to help with a variety of tasks, such as walking dogs. It's going to create a list, comma. Cleaning kennels is the second thing. The third thing is hand feeding newborn kittens. And the fourth thing is supporting the pet adoption process. They need volunteers to do those 4 examples. It says such as. Okay? Because the way it's wording now is the kennel cleaning is being done by dogs who walk. That's what it says. They're looking for volunteers to help with the following tasks. Walking dogs, cleaning kennels. That doesn't work. Okay? So C seems to be the answer. C has got to be the answer. All right? Some people don't put commas in when they create a list. And you might argue, well, hand-feeding newborn kittens doesn't have a comma. It doesn't need one. It doesn't need one. So that's not a reason to remove that. You have 4 things. Walking dogs, 1. 2, cleaning kennels. 3, hand-feeding the kittens. 4, supporting the adoption process. Okay, D says delete the comma after kennels. Well, that's just what I said in reverse. It doesn't work. We can't just say walking dogs, cleaning kennels, hand feeding newborn kittens. And if it was, you would also delete the comma after kittens. So if you think it's a certain rule, then the rule has to follow in all cases, right? So if you remove the comma after kittens, then you would remove it there. But neither comma is correct. So it doesn't make sense that way. All right. Again, to me, this is terribly easy. But again, you're taking a test live. You're anxious. You may have gotten the right sleep. You may not have eaten right. You probably have to go to the bathroom. There's 1,000 things just taking your body and slapping it around on the actual test. So this is easy for me to say sitting here in my home, and I don't have to take the SHSAT. You guys do. But that's another reason to do your prep. Become familiar with the test. What's going to happen here? What are the example kinds? What are the kind of things they're trying to do here? Realizing they can ask you anything they want to. But this kind of question comes up often. All right? So that's number 3. Okay, 4 is a different kind of edit. So on 4, they're going to give you 2 sentences. This 1 and this 2. And then ask you what's the best way to combine these sentences to clarify the relationship between the ideas. Well, the truth of the matter is, if you read the 2 sentences, they kind of seem clear already. And don't get bent into shape where like, well, it's fine as written. That's not what they're asking you to do. They're not asking you what's fine as written. They're asking you what's the best way to combine them. They're saying, if you were to combine them, what's the best way to do it? Okay? All right, wait a second, guys. I got to drink something. Okay, so we have flyby missions near Jupiter have been happening since 1973. And the second is flyby missions allow scientists to collect data about Jupiter's moons. So to me, the 2 aspects is missions have been happening and scientists can do certain things. Missions have been happening and scientists can do certain things, right? And we can fill in the deeds like it's 1973 and the certain things are collecting the data and so on, okay? So what's the best way to combine those 2 notions? And we have to add flyby missions into here somewhere. So flyby missions near Jupiter, that's what's happening, which allows scientists to collect data and planets from its moons, which is pulling from the second sentence, have been happening since 1973. Okay, so I think that works. We didn't look at the other answers yet, but I also noticed if we take this here, and actually I'm going to do it from the comma to the comma again. If we delete the highlighted part I just highlighted, it says flyby missions near Jupiter have been happening since 1973. That's sentence number 1, okay? And which allows scientists to collect data about the planets and its moons is pretty much sentence 2, except for flyby missions near Jupiter, which is the beginning. So this seems like, to me, a very natural composite of the 2 sentences. All right, so let's see. So far I like E. F. Although there have been flyby missions, so we're here. Although there have been flyby missions near Jupiter since 1973, they have allowed scientists to collect data about the moons on the planet. So let's break this up here. So we have the blue part definitely is sentence number 2, and the non-blue part of F is definitely sentence number 1. But there's something I don't like. In fact, I hate it. It's the word although. It's almost leading us to kind of like a cause and effect thing here. And there is a cause and effect. There's a flyby by the virtue of the flyby mission occurring. They're able to do these certain things. But it's not although. It's not although. Right? That's the wrong word. So if you remove that, the sentence gets a little more valid. But with although, no, it's out the window. Okay? Okay, G. Flyby missions near Jupiter allow scientists to collect data about the planet and its moons. So up to that comma is really sentence number 2, which have been happening since 1973, is sentence number 1. I don't like the which, though. Okay. In fact, yeah, I definitely don't like the which, and I'll tell you why. And you know what? Pause. Anybody who's going to catch us on the replay, pause the video for a minute and try to figure out what is wrong. There's actually something wrong with sentence G in terms of things. All right. So pause the video. Try to think of what the issue is. Let me make sure we're still live. Yes, I think we're still live. Okay, the issue is that last clause, the part from here to here, is applying to the planet and the moons. The last clause is applying to this, because that's the noun or the subject's closest to it, when it should be applying to the flyby missions. So if you're going to do that, you would probably put a comma after here. Flyby missions, comma, occurring near Jupiter, blah, 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 comma, which have been happening since 19... Even that's sloppy. So there's a better form to write this in, and it's not G. Okay? H. All right, so did everybody get that? That the happening part is the part about the planets and the moons. But they've been happening since the beginning of the universe or the beginning of the solar system. So not just since 1973. The 1973 applies to the flyby missions, which is what sentence number 1 says. Okay, H. Since 1973, flyby missions have been happening near Jupiter. Fine, that's a different way to phrase number 1. But they allow scientists to collect data about the planets and its moons. So here, let me do this again the same way. So the non-blue part, the non-highlighted part maps into sentence 1, and the highlighted part maps into sentence 2. But just like the other one here, this is a but, as in like an exclusion or the opposite. No, they're going together, right? They're asking, how do we combine the two of these? These are conspiring together. They're not different. They're not contrasting each other in some way. So that's actually a good way to put the sentence together. But instead of but, you might say and. Okay? Remember, you just can't replace... by the way, this is called the fanboy. For, and, nor, but, or, and yet, I believe it, and so. Okay? Fanboys, and these are called transitions, normally establishing prepositions and phrases and so on, stuff like that. So that's the wrong transition word. We saw an example yesterday where they used the phrase transition, so you should know that. So we don't have a contrasting transition, we have a complementary transition, where it's adding to the same notion, okay? So my mind just turned into jelly, but I believe that means the answer is E. That's the correct mapping, okay? Okay, 5. How long are you going? About an hour. Let's see, where am I now? 44 minutes. So let me see how many. I guess at this point, I don't know how long it's going to take. I might do the next 2 questions and that's it. Okay? Because if we get into passages, we're going to definitely bust an hour, and that's probably going to take a half an hour by itself. And on the other side of the coin, this is good. I want to try to take these in bite-sized pieces. I mean, I don't want to end up with 1,000 parts, but on the other hand, if we can bite-size the concepts, I think sometimes it's better for your brain, so all this is not coming at you all at once. Okay, read this paragraph. Which sentence should be revised to correct a vague pronoun? So what the heck is a pronoun, and what does it mean to be vague? I think enough of you guys know what vague means. It means the pronoun is kind of ambiguous. It's not being precise. Okay? So here's another question about precise wording, but in it's disguised in a way by saying vague pronoun. Now, do you know what a pronoun is? If not, you have to read this paragraph and try to figure out through osmosis and an act of God or something exactly what's happening here. All right? So, where am I? My mind's turning into jelly too on top of this. You know what? I have to do something after this, and my brain's starting to float onto that. So a pronoun is something like I, you, us, he, she, it, they, we. Sometimes it's even stuff like each. It's also things like this and that. Okay, there's a whole bunch of pronouns. You guys should actually do a Google of a pronoun and see what it is. They, themselves, ourselves, myself, who and whom. There's a whole ton of them. All right. So what you want to see is what. So when you here's the issue, and here's why when I say you have to figure out about osmosis, the problem is if there's two uses of vagueness in this paragraph. Let's say there's a vague pronoun and there's a vague verb or something like that. You don't know which one to choose now, and it's asking you to do something very specific. It's asking you to revise a vague pronoun. Okay. So you actually need to know what a pronoun is in case it gives another choice. Otherwise, you got a 50-50. You might be out of the four choices. You might, but let's say every sentence here has something vague in it. Then what do you do? That's the ultimate kind of SHSAT question. Whether everything's vague, and you definitely need to know what a vague pronoun is happening. Okay. So let's take the sentences and let's see what's going on here. So Eliza and Brianna have been singing in their school chorus since they were in 4th grade. So there is the pronoun. Eliza and Brianna have been singing in their school chorus since they were in 4th grade. That makes sense. There's two of them. That they're a they, right? And it's spelled properly. Everybody better know how to spell the three versions of they are, there versus here, and there like it's here. So sentence number 2. The girls always sing a duet at the school talent show, and they take turns singing the national anthem before the sporting event. So they is the pronoun here. The girls always sing a duet at the talent show, and they take turns singing that. That's fine. It's still talking about the both of them. Okay, 3. What did I just do here? I just screwed something up. Okay, outside of school, she also sings in a choir made up of young and old members of her community. Okay, she and her are the pronouns in this case. So there's definitely something wrong in there. Because sentence number 1 was talking about Eliza and Brianna. Okay, and there. Sentence number 2 was talking about the girls and they, and it's the same girls. It's referring to Eliza and Brianna again. And now sentence number 3 is talking about she. And we don't know which she. We know it's probably referring to Eliza or Brianna, but we don't know which one it is. So that's where your error is. That's why it's a vague pronoun. And just for good luck and for double checking, let's look at sentence number 4. Both girls, whoops. Both girls hope that they will be able to continue singing for many more years. So both girls refers to Eliza and Brianna. That they is the pronoun, will be able to sing for many more years. So again, the error for 3 was the she, which one, and the her here. And in fact, there's a double whammy here because the she might be referring to Eliza, where the her, even more sloppily, could be referring to Brianna. So sentence number 3 is D, okay? Okay, and number 6, I'm twisted up here. Let me see what's going on here. Okay. Read the sentence. In 1962, the agile, athletic Wilt Chamberlain became the first and only professional basketball player in the United States to score 100 points in a single game. Go Wilt. Okay, which edit should be made? So they're not going to tell us the kind of edit. They're just saying an edit should probably be made. Insert a comma after agile. In 1962, the agile, athletic Wilt Chamberlain became the first and only professional basketball player. Okay, so agile and athletic are describing Wilt Chamberlain. Because we can say in 1962, the agile Wilt Chamberlain, blah, blah, blah. Or in 1962, the athletic Wilt Chamberlain, blah, 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 blah. So we have two things describing the noun being Wilt Chamberlain. And when you do that, you put a comma in. That's one of the comma rules you're supposed to know. All right? So right off the bat, this should leap out at you guys as the error. Okay, let's just for completion, go through the other. Insert a comma after Chamberlain. In 1962, the agile athletic Wilt Chamberlain, pause, became the first and only professional basketball player. Nah, that doesn't work. And we can also look at that because we can put a comma and we flip the sentence around where we started. Became the first and only professional basketball player in the U.S. to score in 1962. The agile, no, that doesn't work if we flip it. If we put a comma after Chamberlain and put that beginning clause at the end of the sentence, it's just screwed up. So it definitely doesn't work. Insert a comma after only. Okay, I'm going to skip G for a second, and I'm going to do H, because G has a peculiar aspect to it. So if we put the comma here, in 1962, the agile Wilt Chamberlain became the first and only professional basketball player in the United States to score 100 points in a single game. That's kind of just dangling out there, the to score 100 points in a single game. Okay, and if we put a comma after states, there's probably another comma that we would probably add. And then we're just adding extra commas that kind of don't need to be there. Okay? So let's go back to G for a second. Okay. I just said over here for agile and athletic that they were two adjectives describing the noun Wilt Chamberlain. And when you have a scenario like that, when there's more than one adjective describing a noun, you separated them by commas. Okay? But isn't that the same issue with only? Okay? It says in 1962, the agile Wilt Chamberlain became the first and only professional basketball player. Is that not the case? That basketball player is the noun and only a professional adjectives describing it? Kind of. In other words, if E was the answer, it means that G has to be the answer too. Or vice versa, if G was the answer, then we have to do A. So I'm saying E was the answer, and so then why is G not the answer as well? In other words, this is a test-taking skill where you normally rule out answers this way, but why doesn't it apply here? It doesn't apply here because if you go back to what I said earlier, it's talking about an agile Wilt Chamberlain and an athletic Wilt Chamberlain. So let's do that same thing here. We have a professional basketball player, and we have an only basketball player. Whoa, wait a second. It's not saying Wilt Chamberlain is the only basketball player. So the only is modifying the professional. And then the way the whole only professional is modifying basketball. Whereas in the earlier case, agile is modifying Wilt Chamberlain, and athletic is modifying Wilt Chamberlain. But only is not modifying the basketball player. So we have to take only and professional together, okay? So that's why G doesn't get a comma in there, even though the rule is normally to put the comma in. So you have to figure this out by context, all right? So that was a slightly tricky one, and you could argue this was actually a hard question. Because the other thing is, if you don't know, that you're supposed to put commas between adjectives that modify nouns. Well, now you do. And this is almost always going to come up on the SHSAT. It's a pretty common enough question. Either it's going to be straight up in a thing like which edit should be made, or it's going to be stuck in a paragraph. It might just say which sentence has an error. You don't necessarily have to say what the error is. Again, there's lots of different twists and forms and techniques that they can use here. But again, if you don't know the rule at all, you're not going to get it. And you're probably going to pick something that's not E or G. You're probably going to pick something else. All right, so I think that's the last question of this. Yeah. So the next part's going to be about, it's going to move away from sentences. If you notice, we're going to move to part B. So this is a good physical break as well. So that was all part A. Again, I'm Greg from Greg's Tutoring, NYC at gmail.com. Guys, please email me. I'm here to help you guys. Sorry, I'm twisted up like this. My back's killing me from sitting back there like that. I'm here to help you guys, whether it's private tutoring, tutoring in a group, or helping you online in this way and form. No, don't hesitate. Remember, the SHSAT is about, I don't know the exact number, about 52 days at this point. Of course, if you're catching this on the replay in a year, it's not going to be. And I'm just going to keep chugging along here. Ask me questions. I can also, if there's a certain point I'm mentioning here or something you're still confused about, I can still do little smaller YouTubes about those specific points, which is basically what my lightning rounds are about in the math section. Again, I have hundreds of hours of YouTubes already. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Anybody else needing this? By the way, Geo, you can tell the Discord as well. I tried joining the Discord. For some reason, I got removed. I'm not sure why, what's going on there. I don't want to get involved in politics and so on, but you know, the only negative side of these is that they're long and tedious, and the passages are boring, and I'm probably boring. So on that note, let me stop rambling, and have a good day, people. Peace out.